Gene, Take Me Along on Broadway starred Jackie Gleason,
That's
and now
right.
you're starring here in Dallas in the production of Take Me Along. When you determined to do this, was that a consideration at all that Jackie had preceded you in the role?
No, I'd never seen Jackie play it. I'd never seen anyone play it, as a matter of fact. But because the show was all wilderness, Eugene O'Neill's only comedy, I've always loved it. And it's been done as a motion picture, as a musical. It's been done, Take Me Along, of course, with Gleason. But every time it's been done in a different way. And this time we're doing it in a different way, too. Naturally, I'm working as a dancer, and Jackie worked it in more of his style, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it was more raucous with
Yes,
Jackie.
yes.
Yeah.
But we've kept all the comedy, and the show is a comedy. It's a lot of fun, but we've added songs and dances, and we think we've pepped it up.
Well, I for one, if Gene Kelly came to do any show and didn't do some singing and quite a bit of dancing, I'd be terribly disappointed.
Well, I do a lot. I'm tired every night.
I wanted to ask you about That's Entertainment, this big new thing that they've put together, and it is a film, and it's a compilation of a lot of film clips of musicals. Which of your musicals is included?
We have numbers from American in Paris and Singing in the Rain and On the Town, and and a picture called Living in a Big Way. I believe that includes my chores in the picture.
Were you pleased with the excerpts that they took, or did you wonder why?
When I first saw it, and they asked my advice on it, it was 4.5 hours long, and of course it had to be cut to 2 hours and 15 minutes, and you just can't encompass all one number without people saying, well, why didn't they include this number or that number? And so everybody that goes to the theater will say that, but everybody's very pleased with the film. And when we had the premiere in LA, we enjoyed getting together all the old gang very much.
You know, Gee, when I first heard that they were going to do that, I wondered, I thought, now will the public really pay money to go see that? Because most of these films they can see on television almost any night of the week. And yet it is doing fantastic business.
Well, mainly because the young people like it, and the young people are the people that go to motion pictures these days, and they're enjoying it.
Yeah. Does that say something special to you that young
Well,
people are going
I
for
think
this?
there's a return more now to nostalgia, romance, and a certain kind of glamour in motion pictures, and that for these last several years we've had certainly a plethora of violence and sex, and which had its run, and I think it's now a commonplace thing. So the moviegoer's looking for something else. This picture's doing, as you say, very well, and that could be an answer.
Yeah. Jane, I've often wondered when you were doing films, well, I'll take it for instance, when you were doing Anchors Away with Frank Sinatra. Now, Sinatra could move pretty well, but no one would say he was a dancer. And yet when you would have to dance together, would you sort of hold back so that you wouldn't run away with it?
It wasn't a question of holding back, it was a question of routining the steps to a certain kind of movement that would look well on Frank. And then having him train, and he worked very hard, to do that. No, he wasn't a dancer. That was all just hard work on Frank's part, and in selecting the kind of movement that he would look best doing. But it was still hard work for him.
Did he enjoy it, or did he resent having to work that hard?
He didn't enjoy it, but he didn't resent it because he knew it was good for him. He was most cooperative, and but singers, their instrument is right here, and a dance is the whole body, and for them to get up and train like athletes, that isn't their cup of tea,
If you could keep only one film that you directed or that you played in, or one each, which films would mean the most to you?
I really don't know. The film that was most important for me to make was On the Town, which was the first one I directed, which sort of changed the style of musicals. It's a bit dated now, so, but that's nearest to me. The most successful ones, American in Paris and Singing in the Rain, are also close to my heart, but maybe I keep Three Musketeers, which isn't a musical.
And With everything that you've done, is there still something that you'd like to do career-wise?
No, I don't think so. I've always just taken what's come up and, you know, take it as it comes. You know, I never made great plans.
But we'll see what that is. And Jean, thank you so much for this visit
Pleasure.
today.
Pleasure indeed.
Gene Kelly, I've been looking forward to this interview ever since it was announced that you were coming to Dallas to do Take Me Along. And then when I was there opening night and heard the applause when you came on stage, believe me, honestly, that's the biggest hand I have ever heard anybody get on an entrance on that stage.
Well, thank you.
Does this happen every place you go?
I haven't been any other place. We just opened the show, but generally people are always nice, and if you've been around long enough, you know, and I've been around long enough, but it was very warm and very wonderful the way the audience treated us the other night. I really enjoyed that. Yes.
Of course, you must have had a bit of a clue about how Dallas was going to feel because you were present at opening night of I Do, I Do with
That's
Carol
true.
and Rock.
That's true.
And you got a fantastic hand that night when you were introduced.
I must say again, people were very, very lovely here.
You know, as I watched you on the stage that opening night, now I've seen, I guess, practically all of your movies and been a fan, but Gene, I never ever really felt the vibrations and the charisma of Gene Kelly until I saw you on the stage opening night. Now, how does one explain that?
Well, in motion pictures, I blushingly will not talk about charisma, but in motion pictures, you become a two-dimensional entertainer, and on the stage, you're there in real life. You become a three-dimensional entertainer in anything, whether it's singing or dancing, especially dancing. So it's better to be live than on a piece of celluloid. That's always true. And as I say, any performer has an advantage live.
I don't know if I completely agree with that, or at least that hasn't been my experience. But seeing you in person was really a thrill that was much more than I anticipated.
I can always say thank you very much.
Another thing, you just move so great, and I was wondering if you ever do klutzy things, because we see you on stage up there, and every move is
Did
so
one
good.
last night. I was out in the back, and I heard my cue coming up, and I turned around. It was very dark backstage. I fell head over heels over something in the dark, and I have a big scar on my knee and shin, and I sprained my little finger here where I cut myself, and it was the klutziest movement you've all ever seen. Yes, so I have a standard line whenever I do something like that. I jump up and I say, always dancing. And, but I did that just last night, yes.
On stage, has
Backstage.
anything like, I know that was backstage, but on stage, have you had any experience?
Well, and when I was a young man and just a classic dancer, I was doing pure ballet at the time. I was in Chicago. I remember it was 1933, and a very fine teacher was using me to show how these steps should be done. And this was at the La Salle Hotel in Chicago, in a big ballroom, and about 1,000 dance teachers around watching this demonstration. So I did a glissade and a tour jeté way up in the air, and my foot slipped on the floor, and I went down, and I stood up, and I took a bow, and I left because I'd broken my arm. I went right to the hospital. And everybody wondered what had happened to this young fellow up there dancing. But I had broken my arm very badly, so I was driven out to the hospital. Now, a dancer, you know, can get hurt as easily. We all have knee troubles. It would sound like old football players. Yes, it was true.
Are you the kind of fellow that will take your wife dancing, or do you hate to do that?
I don't hate to do it, but there is a problem there, and I must say that my good friend Fred Astaire and I have talked about this. And when you go out dancing socially, the people will look at you and they'll expect you to jump over a table or throw the girl into a chair and pirouette. And they often turn their heads and stand there and they say, well, they really think we're going to do that? We're not, we just want to dance, you know. As far as the modern discotheque dancing goes, I don't particularly prefer that because I'd sooner get a workout with a basketball, you know, a tennis racket. But there is a problem about appearing in public privately, dancing, yes.
Have you ever asked a girl to dance and you've sensed right away that she, you know, wanted to but was afraid to because you're
Well,
so
that's the
good?
same thing. It isn't that they're afraid because I'm so good, but they think I'm going to do something with them. And I just do a little two-step and a foxtrot, just like any other fella. And as I say, Fred Astaire and I talk about this all the time. When we go to a party, we'll say, now that lady over there, that, you know, the hostess, we're going to dance with her, but she thinks we're going to do something tricky. No, we don't. We just stand up. We're regular fellas, you know. And but that is one of the difficulties.
I would dance with you if you asked me, but I know I would probably step on your toes, but I'm the
No.
kind, I don't say anything. I just talk a little louder and think maybe they won't notice it. Gene, thanks very much for this time today.
Pleasure.
And you're going to make a return appearance on our show, so we'll continue the conversation at that time.
Good.